Live. I have a good one for you today. I think it'll be good. Who knows? Maybe you'll be like, "That sucks." I even went ahead and made some graphics for us. I think this will be a good time. I'm just going to do the norm. Once I see this live pop up, I am going to notify everyone that I'm live, and then maybe we get one or two other people that we can help on today's live. As always, if you guys are tuning in, feel free to comment below. Would love to know you're here. And let's write this in. Everyone, this is going to, I think you're going to like this one. Come say hi. All right, let's do it. And I will do my best to monitor these comments as we go. Take back what? Take back the what? I don't even know what you said, Thomas. Take back the now. I don't know what that is. But we are going to dive into this. Let me shut this door. Oh, the door's already shut. All right, fantastic. I'm going to go live on TikTok too for good measure. All right, let's dive in. Changing your physical body will do way more than you think. And this is something I've followed for a very long time, but I don't think I've ever talked about it in this group. And that is the Pyramid of Life Mastery. Supposedly, there are 7 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And each one, when you master it, altogether, you'll have a great life. We're going to go through one by one. And some of these might surprise you, but we'll talk more about the structure, why pyramid in a second. Let's start at the bottom. Actually, let's start at the top. Yeah, let's start at the bottom. Which one should we start? Top or bottom? Let's start with the bottom. Top. I don't know. It's so hard. Which one? Yeah, let's go top. All right. So at the top, we have, which arguably one isn't necessarily less important than the other, but think of it like a pyramid, right? So on the surface, we have the most important, or the foundation, and then everything above it stacks on top. So if we do not have the foundation, none of this exists. So with the Pyramid of Life Mastery, the top is contribution and spirituality. So that's essentially your ability to give to others, right? You're volunteering your time. And then, of course, your spirituality. That doesn't necessarily mean religion, but it can, right? Then one below it, we have finances. Now, it's interesting because finances, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's quite a bit lower. But for this pyramid, they put it more towards the top, meaning that it's not the foundation of everything, which is actually interesting because a lot of people believe that, like, if only I had money, I'd be happy, right? And a lot of people make money their god, when really there's a lot of things underneath that, quote, are more important or more foundational than money. Kind of interesting. One below is job, career, and mission. Now, this is interesting because there's 3 different pieces or levels to this, right? The first level is a job. Anyone can have a job. A job is you go in, you're 9 to 5, you clock in, you clock out. That's the game. And you do it just to earn money. And then you have a level up, which is a career. This is something that you can build upon. This is something that you're advancing in. This is something that you're passionate about even. And then the last one, which is probably the most profound leveling up in this category, is having a mission. And a mission is something that pulls you, all right? You don't have to willpower yourself to go do something. You're pulled towards it. For example, in this group, our mission is to help as many people as possible have physical and mental breakthroughs. A breakthrough is when you essentially shatter the glass ceiling and you never go back. And I would say even the most watered down version of that is just really simple. It's helping you believe that you can do it, right? Because you can't have a breakthrough unless you take the first step. So a lot of the content in this group is just to be able to take that first step. One step below there, you have time. So time That's just how you're spending your time, right? Simply put. You then have relationships. Relationships are what you'd imagine, your relationships with everyone. You have emotions and meaning. And, this is an interesting one too, because a lot of the times, I know I used to feel like this. The emotions that we feel are just the emotions we feel. You don't really take any effort to feeling different emotions, but I don't believe that's necessarily true because it's the meaning that we tie to those emotions. And the last piece is we have physical body. So if we're looking at a foundational, let's say, pyramid, it all starts with the physical body and moves up, right? Why? Well, your physical body is how you experience life. Your physical body is your vehicle. So if you do not have your physical body at a place that you feel energetic and strong, then granted, like you can do well in these other categories, but your experience is probably going to be less than it could be. And I really do believe that when you take care of your foundation, your physical body, everything else automatically gets better. This is why on our 7-day challenge that we do in the group, we always start with sleep. And you say, well, why sleep? Isn't exercise going to help you lose more weight? We have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture because look, when you take care of your physical body and you start sleeping, your emotions regulate easier, right? You have higher emotional resilience. Things that hit you fall off your shoulder way easier. That's a good thing. And then, of course, your relationships are probably even enhanced, right? Everything gets better as a result. And I would even go as far to say, when you take care of your physical body, I mean, that is where your finances would improve, right? But I mean, let's go through all these. Every area underneath impacts the one above. When you take care of your physical body, do you have better emotions and meaning? Meaning, do you experience better emotions or worse? Do you experience better meaning to the emotions or worse? What I mean by meaning is like somebody does something to you. Do you take it personally and say like, oh my God, why would they do that? What's wrong with me? Like, why would they do that? Or can we look at it as them and say like, well, they're probably just having a bad day. How about your relationships? When you take care of your physical body, do your relationships improve or diminish? I think we all know the answer. They improve. Why? Because you're friendlier, you're happier. When you have a good physical body and also good emotions to back it up, good self-image, all that good stuff, that leads into you treating others better. If you want a surefire way for knowing if somebody does not like themselves, look at how they treat others. Because and we've all probably been here one time or another, but somebody who chronically does not treat others well usually doesn't feel good about themselves. And it's a manifestation of that. Time. Do you spend time better or worse? I would say better. Why? Because if your emotions and physical body are in a good place, you're probably not going to spend as much time coping with these negative emotions that otherwise you'd feel. What about your career? Do you think you'd go further in your career or have it diminished by focusing on your physical body? This is where it gets confusing because some people believe, which they think life is a zero-sum game, and they say, well, if I take any time for my body, meaning if I sleep 8 hours a night instead of 6 hours a night, I will be giving less to my relationships, less to my career, and therefore make more money. And I say it is the opposite. Why? Why is it the opposite? It's the opposite because why is it there are some people in the world that work 10 hours a week and make $1 million a month? And then some people that work $80, they work $80 a week. They work 80 hours a week and they make $5,000 a month. It's because it's not equal. Time is not equal to how far you go in your career or how much money you make. It's about quality. Quality. So quality of what you're doing. I promise you that if you spend more time at work doing good stuff, meaning being proficient, 1, you'll probably get a raise. 2, you'll probably feel good. And because you feel good, maybe you'll think you deserve more. And because you think you deserve more, maybe you go after higher education or you have more energy to go after higher education. Therefore, you take care of your physical body. I do believe you earn more. It's funny, I was talking to our enrollment coach team this morning. And one of the things we were talking about was how this program, even though it's not meant to be this, I've had so many people that I've worked with in the past that have mastered their physical body, mastered their sleep, mastered their emotions, mastered how they view things. And they've gotten to a point that now, 5 years later, they make more money than they otherwise would have. And they've said, wow, this program, of course, gave me working with you gave me, I feel better. I have confidence. I have energy, of all that, but I also make more money. It's like so funny because one of the reasons some people don't get started on their physical journey is because of money. They think, oh, I can't afford a coach, or I can't spend money on good food, or I can't go to the gym or whatever. The point is, you could look at it as an investment. You take care of your body and your emotions, you end up making more, which is kind of funny to think about. But the reason I like this pyramid so much is because think of it like a building. What happens if you try to build everything on top of sand? What's going to happen? Well, you know the answer. It's going to shift and collapse. And that's what happens so often when we don't have our physical body in the right place. How would you know if your physical body is not in the right place? How do you know if you have a shifting lower level? Are you getting sick? A lot of times we just say, oh, it's the winter, I'm going to get sick again. Or, a lot of us just assume that getting sick is a part of life. It doesn't have to be. I don't get sick. I know it sounds really weird. I can't remember the last time I was sick. Well, yeah, maybe I was I've gotten food poisoning. But sick from poor immune system, I can't remember the last time. And that's because this foundation is so strong. And here's the other thing to think about. What about what happens when, let's say, something goes wrong with your relationships, or something goes wrong with your emotional meaning? You can always come back and have that strong foundation here. I can't tell you how many times, especially being an entrepreneur, that I have had, my finances crumble. I've lost it all multiple times. And when I lose it all, I had something to fall back on, right? I had something to fall back on. And I'm not saying that your physical body is more important than relationships. That's not what this thing is about. That's not what this representation is about. What it is about is that when you have this first, it enhances everything else. Because when you take care of yourself, when you take care of your physical body, you can give more to others. You can give more to your work or your mission. And I do believe too, you can make more money, and you'll probably have the energy and the mindset to be more spiritual potentially, if that's important to you. But I really do believe one of the easiest, and maybe not easiest, but one of the best ways to compartmentalize life is this pyramid. There was many times that growing up, and I still do it to this day, but just not as much. But every Sunday, I remember I started the ritual when I was 16. Every Sunday, I would do a couple things. The first thing I would do was take inventory. I would write down these 7 things, and I would rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. I would take inventory and I would see where I was at in the metrics that matter to me. And this was a really good opportunity for me at the time because it taught me that you cannot master what you do not measure, right? How many people do you know, or how many times maybe in the past for yourself have you said, oh man, I want to get better at this, or I want to lose some weight, or I want to get healthier, or I want to, make more money. And it's, life will look at you and say, here's $1, get out of here, right? All that just to say that we have to get specific with it, right? We have to be able to know what we're shooting for. The more clear we can get, the easier it is to achieve, I promise you. So every Sunday I would write down all these things and I would say, okay, where am I at with my physical body on a scale of 1 to 10? And at the time, I was happy. I wasn't satisfied. It was a 7. Okay, cool. What would make it an 8? And I describe it. Cool. And then guess what? That week, I do that, right? But let's say I don't. Let's say I try to do it and then I fail. Well, okay, let's take inventory again. Why did I fail? Okay, well, I have to make it easier. Well, let me try this. And I did, right? And that's what I recommend. And this is a very similar process. We don't use this per se, use a simpler format with our clients, but Same type of idea. You cannot master what you do not measure. I recommend you set up objectives for the week, actions to achieve the objective, and then accountability to make sure that those actions actually happen. So when you're looking at this, I would rate all of these areas on a Sunday, and then I would choose essentially 2 or 3 that I'm going to focus on, right? Because it's really hard to focus on every area every week. It's fucking exhausting, right? I mean, if you got these 7 areas, it's a lot. Now, you could set up a quarterly goal and say like, hey, this quarter, Q1, I'm going to improve in this way, and that would be fine. But you want to be, in my opinion, you want to have singularity of focus, meaning that you're just focusing on building one thing. Oh my God, that's gross. Just focusing on building one thing at a time, because where focus goes, energy flows, results soon follow. I rather go deep than wide. What do I mean by that? It's like, if you're going to go swimming, would you rather go swimming in a puddle that's like the size of your house? Or would you rather go in, let's say a hot tub sized pool that was 6 feet deep? Probably the hot sized tub pool. Why? Because you can actually get your whole body in it and it feels like you're swimming. Whereas if you're in the puddle, your feet are getting wet, and that's about as good as it gets. So we want to go deep. And this is why, generally speaking, whether I've worked with clients with body transformation or just even life coaching in general, it's always been like one area at a time, whether it's physical body, whether it's emotions, whether it's relationships, managing your time, improving your career, your mission, your job, or even just making more money, whatever it is. It's very interesting, but focusing on one area at a time allows you to go deep. And that's what it's about. Is this resonating with anyone? I know we got some people live here on Facebook. We've got a couple people on TikTok too. Is this resonating? Leave a comment. Let me know. I don't want to be, just talking at people. I like to have a little bit of a conversation. Usually, if we had an audience here in this office, I'd be asking you a lot more questions. Hey, does that make sense? Yes, I would want your active participation. I love it. Let's keep going. So I would rate an area, and then based on what I would rate it, right? I'd rate the area. I would take inventory on where I was at, and then I would quantify, if I'm a 7, what will it take to get to an 8? And then I would go and do the thing. A week later, if I come back and I didn't do the thing, I would make it easier, and so on and so forth. This is the unsexy way that you transform your life. Very unsexy. Why? Because it is so fucking slow. The reason that a lot of people fail is because they focus on every area at once. They get either really frustrated with where their life is at, or they get really excited and they say, okay, I'm going to improve every single one of these in a week, in a month. That's not the answer, I can promise you. Because what happens is we bite off more than we can chew, and then we fail. Where even if we make tremendous progress compared to where we were the week before, we'll still feel like a failure. This is why setting big goals is sometimes setting you up for failure. Don't get me wrong, I got big goals for life, but I'm not going to achieve them this week. I'm not going to achieve them this month. Probably won't even achieve them this year. And that's okay. The way you win this game is 1% improvements. You have to start and never stop. That's the answer. And every time I go live, I say the same shit in a different way. I'm literally just saying the same stuff. That like 1% improvements, start and never stop again. Take inventory. I'm just hopefully doing it in different ways so that you can maybe it just boom, it hits you in a different way and it resonates. If you guys are here, feel free to like this, tap the screen on Facebook. If you're on or on TikTok, if you're on Facebook, let me know you're here, and you can like this. More people will be alerted to see it, but also let me know you're here so I can say hi back. Thomas is here. I know that. So pick an area, quantify where you are, and then take the first step. Don't overload it. This is why on our free 7-day challenge in the group, we just focus on 3 things. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people, I finish that call, we do a kickoff call, and we finish it. And I get messages from people and they say, this is a great start, but what else do I do? And the three things are sleep. We're going to start increasing it, right? We're going to make sure we're over 50 or 56 hours a week. And like, here are the actions to make sure you're doing it. We're going to increase your protein. Increase, don't decrease, meaning we're going to increase protein, not decrease carbs and fat. Because when you do one, the other tends to happen. This also calms the inner rebel because you're not focusing on deprivation. But it's just super simple, right? Big lever actions. And then number 3 is just start to listen to empowering audio, self-talk, improve your self-talk. That's what this is. That's why I take these, I put them on YouTube. That's why I try to be as active as possible while still running this business on every social media platform, because there's a lot of things trying to take your attention, and a lot of them are neutral or negative, especially the news. And hopefully it's not people in your inner circle, like relatives and stuff. But the idea here is that you hear something and you get empowered. You know, whether it's from me or something else, a podcast, whatever it is, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, doesn't matter where you're getting it from. You know, I'm not here to say my stuff's the best, because it's not. It's definitely not. I just get on here and start talking. But the point of all this is, if you want to be able to change your life, it starts with your input, right? Input changes your thinking changes your actions, and your actions change your results, right? My goal is to help you take the first step, because in the first step, that's where everything can change. But you got to take the first step. So a lot of this is me just getting on here and telling you how great, you know, how much you can do this. Question, improve self-talk. Yeah, self-talk. So we all have a record player that goes on in our head, right? If I ask you the question, Thomas, and I say, hey, who talks to you the most? Right? A lot of people say, well, my mom talks to me the most. You know, my wife, my husband, my kids, you know, my employer, whatever. But the answer is always us. We talk to ourselves the most. And the fact of the matter is, it's about 80-20. 20 from other, 80 from within. Meaning that we all have a record player going on in our mind consistently. Anytime something happens, there's an inner monologue, and it's chatting. And sometimes it's not very nice. And there's been times in my life that even me, like, I found, wow, hey, hold on a sec. Like I drop something or something happens, and that inner voice comes in as a loser. What the fuck? That shocks me when it happens, because I'm like very locked in, but that's a signal. Okay, I need to change my input because I'm hearing some stuff I don't want to hear. And whatever your self-talk is, will just manifest. It'll just keep going. It's a record player. So what do? You have to go into your brain, into your mind, and you have to take the record player and you have to scratch it out so that it starts playing a different song. How do you do that? You can't do it manually. It's just kind of like you cannot go into your brain, but you can do it through input, and it takes time. The good news is, even if you've had 20 years of a record that you don't want to hear anymore, it doesn't take 20 years to reverse it. It might take a few months. So the power, it's a powerful message. It's kind of like, hey, if you've been out of shape for 20 years, it doesn't take 20 years to get in shape. Thank God, right? You can get back there in a couple, start feeling better in a couple of weeks and really start feeling better in a couple of months. But self-talk controls everything. Like, I'm going to say something really profound, and this is coming from a transformation coach from 16 years, right? I've been a coach for half my life. If somebody was coming to me and they said, hey, I want to optimize for being in the best shape of my life 2 years from now, and then 5 years from now and 10 years from now, what do I do? And there's only one thing I can do, maybe two. I would say, okay, cool. Number one, you're going to improve your sleep. Number two, you're going to start listening to these podcasts. You're going to start listening to these people every free moment you get. Every free moment you get. That means if you're in the car, you're listening. If you're showering, you're listening. If you're not talking to someone or working, sometimes even if you are working, you're listening to this. Now you might say, well, hold on a sec. That doesn't make any sense, because I know that the science of weight loss, I need to make sure that I'm eating caloric deficit, that I'm exercising, and that I'm doing resistance training, that I'm eating enough protein, and that I'm getting micronutrients for my organ health and all that stuff. Yes. But guess what? None of that happens if you don't have a good self-image. Straight up. Everything we do is a manifestation of our mind, right? Like, have you ever had a day go on without thinking? No. Without using your brain? No. Even though we might say, other people do. But it doesn't happen. Everything filters through our mind. And sometimes the filter is outdated and clogged and old and not that good. We have to change the filter. It's kind of like the rose tinted glasses, right? We do not experience reality. And I'm not here to be like metaphysical, like, woo. No, but we do not experience reality. We experience our perception of reality. 100%. Here's an example. I'm not here to get political, but let's say there's a political figure that you love, and that political figure is put on the news that they did something disgusting. What's your first reaction? Is it, oh my God, they're a terrible person? No, your first reaction is usually, they must be lying because he would never do that. And that's your reality. Just like how if somebody you hate does something absurd or, disgusting, you say, I knew it. Yeah, I knew that guy would do that. He's a bad guy, right? Our perception of reality filters through our brain, right? So sometimes we just need to clean our glasses because they're not what they should be, right? How we view reality. And there's something to be said about really being happy and being pulled towards the actions that allow you to have all of these things. And one of the frames that I think we all need to develop is one of belief, right? I don't want to take too far away from this, but there's a cycle that I feel like controls everything. If you want to achieve anything in life, it comes down to this cycle. It starts with belief, 100%. If you believe that you can do something, whether you can or can't, will determine whether you even get started. Think about it. Let's say that I had a way for you to make, I don't know, $1 million a year. And all you had to do was this thing and it was super easy. And I said, but all I want is $10,000, right? So you get $1 million per year and I want $10,000. Well, whether or not you give me the money would be determined on if you believe it will work. 100%, right? If you believe with 100% certainty that that thing would work, you would do it. And you would, do that transaction. However, if you did not believe it, then you would not do it, even though it seems really good. Let's take fitness, for example. Let's say that I come on here and I tell you, hey, look, the way you transform your body and sustain it forever is the 1% improvement route. And that if you take this route and, let's say you work with our coaches or not, or whatever, you just follow this route, you will transform your body. Even if you failed in the past, even if you've done anything under the sun, I promise you that you can do it. It's not your hormones. It's not. Do they play a role? Yes. Are they the defining factor? No. So stop giving them power, right? And let's say you believe that. Cool. Then you start taking action. As long as the actions are true, you'll get results. And then depending on what those results are, will determine what you believe your potential is again. And then whatever you believe your potential is, your belief goes up or down. And this is how you get onto a vicious cycle downward or a virtuous cycle upward. If you've been in a vicious cycle for the past few years and things have been getting worse, I'm here to say that you're either spiraling one way down or one way up. And just like a tree, we're either growing or dying. And you're too young to die. You're just starting. So we need to get back on the virtuous cycle upwards, right? We need to get back on the up. And it all starts with belief. So that's why I make these videos. That's why I make these videos, so that you can have more belief in yourself that you can do this. And we get belief by gathering evidence that this time can be different. That's why I come on here sometimes, like I did yesterday, and I shared stories of like Carla and Rachel and Kim, and I mean the list goes on. It's because when you see it possible for others, it gives you that glimmer, and all you need is a glimmer of hope that your life can be different. And once you have that, life can never be the same. Life has the opportunity to never be the same. So hopefully this is resonating. If it's not, sorry to have wasted your time. But if you're here and this helps, feel free to, like this, comment, like let me know you're here. I don't love ranting as much as you think I love getting on here and start ranting. I'm just trying to fill space. Let me know you're here. Say hi. Say hi. Even if you're watching this on replay, say hi. Or if you're on TikTok Live and you're joining, feel free to say, hey, good to see you. Ask a question. I'm here to answer it. You have my undivided attention. Here for you. So that's the answer, right? Quick recap. When you take care of your physical body, everything above it gets better. Take care of your body, you emotionally feel better. Take care of your body, relationships are better. Take care of your body, generally speaking, you advance more in your career, your mission, you make more money. All starts with the body. And if there's only one thing you can do to improve your body, it is start sleeping. Go to sleep. Master your sleep. By mastering your sleep, everything else will get better. It is the highest ROI activity if you could only pick one thing. Following that, you only change the results. You only get the result you want when you do the action, but you only do the actions when you believe that the actions will work. So it all starts with belief. That's why my mission here to help you break through is to get you to believe that you can. And I know how hard that is, especially when you've been knocked down so many times. Right? I mean, you can only get enthusiastic. It's like there's a reason why when we're young, we have a spark and we're excited and we're ready to take on the world. Like just for a second, you can even close your eyes and remember where you were when you were 18 years old or 16 years old or 20 years old. And you thought the world is, full of possibilities. And what happens to a lot of us? Well, what happens is we get punched in the face by life. And you get punched in the face once and you stand back up and you go, well, whew, let me shake it off. That was unexpected. Well, hey, life can still be great. And then boom, you get punched again. And you get up and then boom, you get punched again. And once that happens about, 100 or 200 times, you get to this point that you say, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And we settle. And we accept where we currently are. And that's something that if you've done, the good news is you can come out of that. You do not have to be stuck there. Not to get too deep on you, but I was talking to the team yesterday, and one of the things we were talking about was I really do believe, like in my soul, that we do way more than physical body here. I really do believe that we are helping save people from a spiritual death. And I'm not here to talk about religion. What I mean is, how many people do you know that are just zombies? They're just going day to day with no emotion. They're kind of just like dead behind the eyes. And I think that happens when we stop striving, when we know or we believe that the past is better than the future and there's no empowering future to move towards. And I think that when we inspire belief and you get to this point where you realize your life, the future can be better than the past. No matter how good the past was, the future can be better than the past. I promise you, it can. Just got to change the way we view it. We have to believe it. We have to believe we can. And I'm not here to, metaphor, I'm not here to have you go to your garden and just turn a blind eye to all the problems and say, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. Everything's great. Like, no. You have to be a pragmatic person. You have to be able to look at the weeds and pull them out, right? Like when you're stressed, there's three ways we deal with stress, right? We can rip it out of the source, we can change the way we view it, or we can change the way we cope with it. Like these are mechanical actions, but it all starts with belief, right? Good stuff. Thomas said, when asked about anything I always do negative because I figured that they knew the good points, so I give them the bad. So I need to change this potentially, right? I mean, there's something to be said about being a devil's advocate, right? And I think it was Charlie Munger who said, if you guys are familiar with him, he just actually passed away. He was the right hand man of Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway. And one of the things he always said was inverse the problem. So he said, if you're trying to achieve something, think about how to do the opposite. Meaning, if you're trying to help people, as many people as possible, break through, like our mission, well, how would you make sure that nobody breaks through? And then you essentially create the inverse and then you reverse it. And his philosophy for that was that when you focus, it's easier for the mind to come up with problems than it is to come up with solutions, because that's just how we're wired for survival. So that's kind of interesting. I don't follow that approach, but just thought it was kind of interesting. I know I have friends of mine who are entrepreneurs that do that. But I know that for me personally, I much prefer to have a positive dialogue, right? Because I'm happier. And like at the end of the day, I mean, is life about being happy? I think it's a sub goal. To me, I feel like life's about growth. It's about having an empowering future, to be honest. I feel like you can have everything in life you've ever wanted, but if your future is not empowering and you're not growing, you're dying. So I think we always need something to strive towards. I feel like that's how you win as being a human. And it's funny because I remember my wife, the best compliment I've ever gotten in my entire life was 2 years ago. She said to me, 3 years ago, I remember exactly where we were. And she said, you're just really good at being a human. I thought, yeah, why? And she told me, she's like, you just tend to balance. You're happy, but you're also not satisfied. You want to grow. And when I grew up doing martial arts, there was always this saying, you want to be happy but never satisfied, right? You don't want to. I've always heard this this saying that desire is a contract you have with yourself to be unhappy until you achieve the thing that you want, and that can be true, right? When you really desire something, you're creating a deficit between where you are and where you want to be, and that can make us feel bad. I think an answer for life, in some degree, not that that's what I'm here for, but it's just us, so why not? It's this idea of how can you still strive towards something, but also be happy and content where you are. I think that's a really good question, and it might be a little different for everyone, but yeah, I think that's it, right? Because when you're striving, when you're growing, you feel alive. When there's an empowering future to move towards, you feel alive. But to be able to stop and appreciate where you've gone and what you have, I think that's also extremely important. So that's that. We're gonna wrap this up. I've already been talking for 40 minutes. I should probably end it. You guys are probably like, yeah, I'm good. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Feel free to say hi in the comments. Comments are quiet today. So quiet. So quiet. It's okay though, Friday, I get it. You guys are watching silently. It's cool. It's cool. But just like always, I want to end these just with the idea that the best is yet to come. Or whatever you want, as long as it's within the laws of physics, is attainable. And there's a cost, but with a long enough time horizon, you can get just about anywhere, right? I think the challenge a lot of us have is we want it and we want it now. And I think that's just human nature, right? Especially living in America. You're hungry, go to a restaurant, go to the store, right? We used to have to hunt and kill our food. Crazy. And like, it's not just like we'd step out of our tent and then the boar would be right there and we'd eat. No, it would take many, 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 many hours if we even found one. So I think we're conditioned to want it and want it now. What's that Queen song? I want it all. I think that's life to a degree for a lot of Americans and people in general. But I think if we can just stretch out the time horizon, a few months or years, you can have anything you ever wanted, which is really empowering. That's what I try to remind myself. All right, 40 minutes. I hope you guys have a super good day. I might see you tomorrow. I usually don't make these on the weekend, but yeah, love you guys. See you soon.